For centuries, the legend of El Dorado has captivated explorers, historians, and treasure hunters alike. A tale whispered through the jungles of South America, it spoke of a city dripping with unimaginable wealth, a kingdom where gold was as common as dust, and the very streets shimmered in the sunlight. The name El Dorado itself, meaning the Golden One in Spanish, conjures images of a civilization untouched by the ravages of time, a place where material riches intertwined with profound spiritual enlightenment. But was El Dorado ever real? Or was it merely a mirage, an illusion born from greed and European misconceptions of indigenous cultures? To answer these questions, we must delve deep into history, legends, and the relentless pursuits that led many to their doom. The roots of the El Dorado myth can be traced back to the early 16th century when Spanish conquistadors first set foot in South America. They encountered vast and sophisticated civilizations, the Inca, the Muisca, and the Chibcha, who used gold not as a measure of wealth but as a spiritual medium. Gold for them was a sacred metal, representing the sun, their supreme deity. Unlike the Europeans, who saw gold as a currency and a means of power, these indigenous peoples adorned their temples, idols, and even their bodies with it as an offering to the gods. One of the earliest and most enduring accounts of El Dorado came from the Spanish reports of the Muisca tribe in present-day Colombia. According to legend, the Muisca had a ceremonial ritual in which their newly anointed leader would coat his body in gold dust and sail to the center of Lake Guatavita. There, he would make offerings of gold and precious jewels to the gods by casting them into the lake. This spectacle was said to take place under the watchful eyes of the entire tribe, reinforcing their connection to the divine. When Spanish explorers heard of this practice, their imaginations ran wild. If one man could be covered in gold, surely an entire city must exist where such wealth was abundant beyond measure. The allure of El Dorado proved too tempting for the Spanish. Driven by the success of Hernán Cortés in Mexico and Francisco Pizarro in Peru, both of whom had toppled empires rich with gold, the conquistadors turned their attention to the uncharted territories of South America. From the Andes to the Amazon, expeditions were launched with a singular purpose: to find the fabled city. One of the most famous attempts was led by Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada in 1536. He and his men endured grueling conditions, trekking through dense rainforests, swamps, and mountainous terrain in search of their golden prize. Though he never found El Dorado, Quesada's expedition marked the beginning of many more relentless and often tragic quests. Another notable explorer, Francisco de Orellana, embarked on a harrowing journey down the Amazon River in 1541. His expedition, originally set out in search of food and supplies, turned into one of the most legendary voyages of discovery. Orellana became the first European to navigate the entire length of the Amazon, but the Golden City remained elusive. As time passed, the myth of El Dorado grew, evolving from the tale of a golden king to an entire metropolis of untold riches hidden somewhere in the heart of the jungle. European powers, including England, Portugal, and the Netherlands, became embroiled in the pursuit, each hoping to outdo the Spanish and claim the riches for themselves. While much of the focus on El Dorado centered around material wealth, many scholars and historians argue that the legend also had a profound spiritual dimension. The indigenous peoples of South America did not value gold in the same way Europeans did. To them, gold was a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Some interpretations suggest that El Dorado was never meant to be a literal city, but rather a metaphor for enlightenment and spiritual ascension. Just as alchemists in Europe sought to transmute base metals into gold as a symbol of inner transformation, the legend of El Dorado may have represented the pursuit of ultimate wisdom and unity with the cosmos. The Muisca people, whose rituals fueled the legend, practiced a deep connection with nature and the celestial world. They believed that the lakes, mountains, and rivers were imbued with the spirits of their ancestors and gods. The golden offerings cast into Lake Guatavita were not acts of wasteful extravagance, but rather an acknowledgement of this sacred relationship. As the centuries passed, countless expeditions were launched, each ending in disappointment or disaster. The pursuit of El Dorado claimed the lives of many who ventured into the unforgiving wilderness of South America. Starvation, disease, hostile encounters with indigenous tribes, and the sheer brutality of the jungle led to the deaths of entire expedition teams. One of the most infamous failures was that of Sir Walter Raleigh, the English explorer who, in the late 16th century, convinced Queen Elizabeth of Firm that El Dorado lay somewhere in present-day Venezuela. His two expeditions yielded nothing, and his exaggerated reports only fueled further speculation. His obsession ultimately led to his downfall, as his second voyage violated Spanish territories, resulting in his arrest and execution upon his return to England. Despite these failures, the legend persisted. Even as modern archaeology and anthropology debunked many aspects of the myth, treasure hunters continued to search, convinced that some hidden truth still lay buried beneath the jungle canopy. Today, most historians agree that El Dorado, as depicted in legend, never truly existed. However, the myth was likely based on real indigenous traditions and the vast wealth that once flowed through South American civilizations before European conquest. The gold-adorned cities of the Inca and the Muisca did exist, and their treasures were looted or destroyed by the conquistadors. Modern expeditions and satellite imaging have uncovered evidence of extensive pre-Columbian settlements deep within the Amazon, suggesting that large, sophisticated societies once thrived in regions previously thought to be inhospitable. The discovery of these ancient cities, some with advanced road systems, irrigation networks, and architectural feats, has led some researchers to reconsider whether El Dorado may have been a distorted interpretation of real but lost civilizations. Though the physical city of gold remains a legend, the idea of El Dorado continues to inspire. It has become a symbol of the insatiable human desire for discovery, wealth, and knowledge. Literature, film, and art have all drawn from its themes, crafting new interpretations of what El Dorado represents. From adventure novels to modern cinema, the legend continues to thrive, transcending its historical origins. More importantly, the El Dorado myth has helped shine a light on the rich cultures of South America. It has forced historians to reevaluate indigenous civilizations not as passive victims of European conquest, but as sophisticated societies with deep spiritual and economic systems. In the end, El Dorado was never about the gold. Whether it existed as a physical city or a spiritual metaphor, the true wealth of El Dorado lies in the cultures, histories, and wisdom of the indigenous peoples of South America. The real riches were not bars of gold, but the knowledge, traditions, and connections to nature that these civilizations held sacred. The search for El Dorado, though driven by greed, ultimately led to the exploration and documentation of a world previously unknown to Europeans. The legend, though a tale of lost treasure, serves as a reminder of something far greater: the eternal human quest for meaning, adventure, and enlightenment.